all love catching up on our favorite shows when we are bored or just scroll through the television when we are idle and have nothing to do. Now imagine this. You are watching your favorite weekly show on the TV and suddenly the transmission stops. Of course, it must be a loose connection or a fault in the television lines. But here comes the surprise. The transmission doesn't stop altogether. Something else is coming up on your television screen which is totally unrelated to the show you are watching and absolutely unexpected. No, this isn't any paranormal activity, but such weird instances have actually occurred in the past. Welcome back to our channel, and today we are going to present to you top 5 such inexplicable situations where people heard and saw something unexpected while watching their favorite shows or listening to the radio. Before we jump on to such interesting stuff, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon if you do not want to miss out on such fascinating stories. 5. Max Headroom Incident. Until 9:14 p.m. of November 22, 1987, the people of Chicago watching their televisions were having a pretty normal time. Entertainment shows, news, advertisement breaks, and every other small episode that happened every single day was taking place on their screen. So, when people tuned in for popular sportscaster Dan Roan's narration of the victory of Bears over the Detroit Lions, they didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. However, right between his show, the screens blacked out with an eerie static. A suited mix of the Joker and Richard Nixon came up on the screens, wearing a ghoulish mask and a sunglass with a slab of corrugated metal spinning hypnotically behind him. This went on for several minutes until someone at the control room managed to reverse the hijacked frequencies. Roan seemed pretty shaken up when he came back on the screen, and the same would be said for the audience. People did seem to think that the episode was over, but the hijacker came back exactly 2 hours later. This time, along with his mysterious visuals, a distorted voice also aired for over a minute, which went on to hum the tune of the cartoon Clutch Cargo and talking about the Chicago Bulls announcer. Soon the FBI and the FCC were on the case, but weren't able to make a dent in what exactly happened and were unable to find out who the hijacker was. Thousands of residents across Chicago were extremely confused, amused, and scared as they had just seen a person hijack the WTTW signal not once, but twice. The case is still unsolved as of today and is known to be one of the biggest hijacks in the history of television. 4. Captain Midnight. While people in the 1980s were generally armed with a paper and pen to protest against an issue, John McDougal was armed with a 30-foot transmission dish and a keyboard. So when HBO decided to charge its satellite dish owners $12.95 a month in 1986, McDougal became Captain Midnight and decided to voice the concerns of thousands of Americans. During the screening of the movie The Falcon and the Snowman on HBO, McDougal broadcasted his protest message for 4.5 minutes. As expected, the FCC and the FBI decided to look into the matter, and McDougal surrendered in the court. This case was particularly important in the American society, as this led to the U.S. Congress passing an act that made satellite hijacking a felony. In spite of the crime, Captain Midnight remained a voice for the protesters for a long time. 3. The first alien interaction. On November 26, 1977, it was a lazy winter Saturday for people across the southern area of England. Most were lazing around in their verandas, gearing up for a cold winter night, while the others were hooked to the television screens. After all, there wasn't much to pass the time in the 70s. Southern TV news anchor Andrew Gardner was reading out the day's headlines, and people were listening about the violent clashes happening in Rhodesia. All was well and normal until 10 minutes past 5, when Gardner's dialogue was cut off and the images on the screen wobbled. Although Gardner was in the background reading the news intently, and the show ended, followed by a cartoon, the audio was something else altogether that went on for 6 minutes. It was a message from an individual identifying himself as Vrilon and supposedly representing a body called the Ashtar Galactic Command. The message came through in a distorted voice, which basically summarized that humans need to give up their warlike ways and embrace a peaceful way of existence before it was too late. Many people thought it was a hoax, while some thought it was an actual message from aliens, and the incident hit the headlines for several weeks. In the 1970s, hacking into a television program wasn't a piece of cake from a laptop, and no one has claimed responsibility for this curious interaction till date. We will leave it to you to decide whether it was a university kid sitting in his room and executing a hoax, or whether Vrillon is actually an unknown being from outer space. 2. Zombie apocalypse. On a Monday afternoon, residents of Montana went crazy when hackers broadcasted an official civil warning with regards to a zombie apocalypse. The incident took place on February 12, 2013, when viewers were sitting down for a relaxing afternoon to watch the Steve Wilkos show on KRTV. It was winding up to be really exciting when viewers were stunned by a broadcast that appeared on their screens, which said that dead bodies were rising from their graves in several Montana counties. It went on in line with an official civil broadcast stating that the civil authority has issued a local emergency in the areas where the flesh-eating hordes were spotted. It also directed residents not to approach or apprehend the bodies, as they were extremely dangerous, and to follow the messages on their screen, which would be updated with more information. Soon after the incident, KRTV issued an official statement which confirmed that the incident was nothing more than a group of hackers at play. 1. Coast to Coast AM. If you are an ardent radio show fan from the 90s, you must be familiar with Arthur Bell. Widely known as Art Bell, he was the founder and the host of the paranormal-themed radio program Coast to Coast AM, which became extremely popular in the United States and Canada. The show urged people to call up and discuss their theories and conspiracy ideas on the air. However, Art Bell received a particular call on the Area 51 line, which remains shrouded in mystery until date. A frantic, hysterical caller said that he was let go from a top-secret government compound deep in the Nevada desert, needing help and couldn't divulge his location. He goes on to talk about aliens and how they have infiltrated various military operations and compounds of the country, particularly Area 51. He also talks about disasters that were coming soon and the government having prior knowledge about them. The man stops suddenly, and in that moment, Bell faces a complication he had never faced before. He loses the connection to the transmitter. The call was never traced, and Bell never heard from the caller again. Today, we all know that Area 51 is shrouded in secrets, but maybe this hysterical man on the call was the first person who knew what was going on and wanted to let us know. Well, we will never know what happened to the unknown man or what he knew about the place. There are many such instances that dot the history of radio and television transmissions. While many of them are hackers playing around with their laptops, many are inexplicable to this date and couldn't be solved by top agencies who looked into the incidents for years. These incidents do lead us to think how truthful they are and coerce us to face many unanswerable questions. The simple answer would be that we just don't know about all the strange things that go on in this world. The complicated path would be to urge you to find out and decide what to believe and ignore. If you love the video, do not forget to like the video and comment down the interesting explanations that you come up with. We will be back in no time with another interesting video. See you soon.